I want you to hear me when I say this today. Your life will never rise above the work you do on yourself. Not the noise around you, not the circumstances, not even the people who try to define you. It's the quiet discipline, the intentional choices, the late nights and early mornings where no one is watching. That's where your identity is born. You have to work on yourself so much until growth isn't something you do, it's who you are. You see, too often we are waiting for validation from the world, approval from someone else, or a breakthrough that comes from outside of us. But let me tell you something, the power to transform your life is in your hands. You cannot outsource your identity. You cannot borrow someone else's courage, their faith, or their resilience. You must cultivate it within yourself every single day in every single way. There will be moments when it feels too hard, when doubt creeps in, when you feel like giving up. That's when you remember that transformation is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. It's in the little choices you make when no one else is looking. Every word you speak over yourself, every thought you choose to believe, every action you take toward growth is building the person you were created to be. I want you to stop comparing yourself. Stop chasing someone else's version of success and start investing in your own soul, your own mind, your own heart. Work on yourself until it becomes your identity. Because when it does, nothing in this world can shake you. You will walk in purpose, power, and peace. And people around you will see a reflection of God's work in your life. So today, I challenge you, like this video, and subscribe to the channel for daily motivation. Write a famous quote in the comments, and also comment one thing you're believing God for today. And remember, as Sarah Jakes Roberts always says, you are not just growing, you are being transformed into who you were created to be. I want to start with a simple truth today. Nothing in your life will change until you decide that the work begins with you. And I don't mean the kind of work that you can outsource, the work that happens when someone else tells you what to do, or the work that only shows up when circumstances demand it. I'm talking about the deep, internal, intentional work, the work that is unseen, often unnoticed, and yet ultimately unstoppable. This is the work that will shape your identity. You have to commit to it, not just for a season, but as a lifestyle until growth is no longer something you do, but something you are. Until the very essence of who you are carries the imprint of consistent transformation. And I want you to hear me clearly. This is not an easy path, and it is not a quick fix. This is a daily decision. Every day you wake up, every thought you entertain, every choice you make, it all matters. The work on yourself is the silent force that will eventually command your life, your circumstances, and even the people around you. The first step in this journey is awareness. Awareness of who you are today, the habits that define you, the thoughts that influence you, and the decisions that shape your life. You cannot become what you do not see, and you cannot grow into what you do not recognize within yourself. Awareness is the mirror that shows not just the surface, but the depth of your soul. It's seeing the patterns of your reactions, the ways you respond when life feels unfair, the moments you shrink instead of step into your power. Awareness is uncomfortable sometimes because it doesn't let you hide anymore. But it is necessary. Growth cannot occur without recognition. It cannot take root if you are pretending that everything is fine when deep inside, you know you are not fully engaged in your own development. So start by looking at yourself honestly, even when it hurts, because honesty is the fertilizer for growth. It makes the roots of your character sink deep into the soil of resilience. Once you recognize where you are, the next step is commitment. And commitment is not just a word. It is a daily practice. You have to commit to the process of bettering yourself, knowing that the results may not be immediate. The world loves instant gratification. It celebrates overnight success and viral breakthroughs. But true growth is slow, steady, and relentless. It is in the repetition of positive habits, the quiet work when no one is watching, the dedication to becoming a better version of yourself, even when there is no applause, no recognition, and no reward other than the satisfaction of knowing you are becoming who you were meant to be. Commitment means showing up for yourself every day. It means choosing your long-term well-being over short-term pleasure. It means investing time, energy, and emotional resources in the one person who will never leave you, yourself. As you commit, you must also learn to embrace discomfort. Growth never occurs in the comfort zone. It is in the moments when life challenges you, when circumstances stretch you, And when you feel weak, that the greatest transformation happens. You may feel anxious, overwhelmed, or unprepared, and that is okay. That is part of the process. The key is not to run from discomfort, but to move through it with intentionality. Discomfort is the teacher that helps you identify the areas in which you are not fully living, the habits that are not serving you, and the beliefs that are holding you back. Each uncomfortable moment is an opportunity to reaffirm your commitment to yourself and to say, I will not let fear, doubt, or uncertainty define me. When you embrace the struggle as part of the work, it becomes less about surviving and more about thriving, because you are actively sculpting your character with each challenge you face. Alongside commitment and embracing discomfort, you must cultivate discipline. Discipline is the bridge between desire and achievement. It is what turns intention into action and action into identity. Without discipline, even the most profound insight, the clearest vision, and the deepest desire will never materialize into lasting change. Discipline is choosing to speak words of encouragement over self-criticism, choosing to act on your goals rather than procrastinating, choosing to persevere when motivation fades. Discipline is showing up for the work on yourself even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, and even when it seems like no one else cares. It is the quiet force that transforms effort into excellence and intention into character. And here's the beautiful truth. The more you practice discipline, the more it becomes who you are. It no longer feels like a chore. It feels like an extension of your very being. Growth also demands patience. You have to understand that transformation is a journey, not a destination. It is not measured by overnight results or sudden recognition. It is measured by consistency, persistence, and the cumulative effect of small intentional steps taken every day. You may not see the fruit of your labor immediately, and there will be days when it feels like nothing is happening. Those are the days that test your faith in the process. But keep going, keep learning, keep applying yourself. Keep choosing growth over stagnation, even when the road is long, because the work you put into yourself today will become your identity tomorrow. And identity, once formed, carries power. It carries influence. It carries the capacity to impact every area of your life. One of the most important aspects of working on yourself is reflection. Take the time to pause, to evaluate, to examine your progress. Reflection allows you to see how far you've come, to celebrate small victories, and to adjust when necessary. It prevents you from moving through life on autopilot and ensures that your growth is intentional. Reflection is also a way of honoring the work you've done, acknowledging your resilience, and reinforcing your commitment to the journey. When you reflect regularly, you become conscious of patterns, aware of successes, and equipped to make better choices. It is through reflection that the work you do begins to embed itself into your identity, because awareness plus action plus reflection equals transformation that sticks. Along this path, you must also prioritize self-love and self-respect. Working on yourself is not about beating yourself up for where you've been or what you haven't achieved. It's about valuing yourself enough to want more, to believe you deserve growth, and to treat yourself as the work in progress you are. Self-love means setting boundaries, saying no to what doesn't serve you, and saying yes to opportunities that align with your growth. Self-respect means honoring your own time, energy, and worth by making choices that reinforce the best version of yourself. When you pair discipline with self-love, your growth becomes sustainable, because you are nurturing the soul that is doing the work. Another critical part of making growth your identity is surrounding yourself with the right influences. The people, content, and environments you allow into your life will either accelerate your growth or hinder it. You have to be intentional about who you listen to, whose advice you take, and whose example you follow. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you, and encourage you to be better. Avoid environments that pull you into old habits, doubt, or negativity. Growth thrives in spaces that honor learning, curiosity, and resilience. And when you curate your surroundings intentionally, the work you do on yourself is reinforced daily, shaping not just your behavior, but the very essence of who you are. As the work becomes more consistent, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Your mindset changes, your reactions change, your capacity to handle adversity increases. And eventually, growth becomes effortless, not because you stop working, but because the work has become so intertwined with who you are that it no longer feels like work. It is part of your identity. You begin to embody the principles you have been practicing, and the habits you have cultivated are no longer tasks, but expressions of your character. Your identity is no longer defined by external circumstances or the opinions of others. It is defined by the consistent, intentional work you have done on yourself. You must also understand the importance of resilience in this journey. Growth is not linear. There will be setbacks, failures and moments when you feel like you've lost progress. Resilience is what allows you to get back up, to recommit, and to continue moving forward. It is what prevents temporary defeat from becoming permanent stagnation. When you develop resilience, you internalize the truth that growth is bigger than a single mistake, bigger than a single day, and bigger than a single challenge. Resilience ensures that the work you have done is not erased by circumstances, but strengthened by them, reinforcing your identity as someone who does not give up. And let's talk about mindset, because mindset is the lens through which all growth is filtered. If you believe that you cannot change, that you are limited by your past, or that growth is for other people but not for you, will remain stagnant. But when you adopt a mindset of possibility, curiosity, and openness, you allow the work on yourself to expand into every area of your life. Mindset shapes perception, perception shapes action, and action shapes identity. Change your mind, and you change the trajectory of your life. Work on cultivating a mindset that embraces growth, learning, and transformation, and it will become inseparable from who you are. Finally, understand that this work is sacred. The time, effort, and energy you invest in yourself are not wasted. They are building the foundation of a life that reflects your potential, your purpose, and your identity. The world may not notice at first, and the recognition may not come immediately, but the transformation is real. It is internal, powerful, and lasting. When you work on yourself until growth becomes your identity, you are no longer chasing life. You are living it fully. You are no longer defined by circumstances. You are defined by intentionality, resilience, and purpose. You are no longer waiting for someone else's approval. You are walking in the fullness of who God created you to be. I want you to sit with this truth today. Transformation is not a random event. It is not something that happens by chance, by luck, or by the fleeting winds of motivation. Transformation comes from consistent, intentional choices. Every single decision you make, no matter how small, is a building block of who you are becoming. And here's the thing. The world often tells us that big change comes from big actions, from dramatic leaps, from sudden breakthroughs. But the truth is that lasting transformation rarely works that way. It is the steady, deliberate, intentional steps, repeated day after day, that compound into extraordinary growth. It is the moments when you choose discipline over comfort, courage over fear, and faith over doubt that shape the core of who you are. Transformation begins in the quiet, unseen spaces of your life, in the small, consistent choices that others may never notice, but that God sees, that life acknowledges, and that eventually define your identity. Every choice you make has power. You may underestimate it. You may dismiss it as trivial. You may think this one small decision won't matter, but that is where you are wrong. Transformation is built on the accumulation of these choices. It is built when you choose to speak life over negativity, when you choose patience over impatience, when you choose to step forward even when the path is unclear. These are not glamorous moments. They are not moments that make headlines or garner applause. They are quiet, persistent, and powerful. Each one strengthens the foundation of your character. Each one reinforces the trajectory of your life, and each one moves you closer to the person you were created to become. Intentionality in your choices is the secret that transforms effort into results, desire into reality, and dreams into identity. To understand this fully, we have to acknowledge the role of awareness in transformation. You cannot make intentional choices if you are unaware of where you are, who you are, and what patterns are shaping your life. Awareness is the first step toward deliberate action. It is noticing the habits that keep you stuck, the thoughts that limit you, and the relationships that either lift you up or weigh you down. Awareness is not about judgment or shame. It is about clarity. It is about seeing yourself with honesty and compassion, understanding that change is necessary, not because you are broken, but because growth is your calling. Awareness allows you to make intentional choices because you are not moving blindly. You are moving with purpose, with insight, and with direction. Once awareness is present, the next step is commitment. Commitment is more than a fleeting desire. It is a deliberate agreement with yourself to follow through. You may feel motivated today and inspired tomorrow, but true transformation requires showing up consistently even when motivation fades. Commitment is choosing the long game over short-term comfort. It is making the promise to yourself that you will honor your growth regardless of external validation, recognition, or immediate results. When you commit to intentional choices, you shift from being reactive to proactive. You no longer let life dictate your path. You choose it. You no longer wait for circumstances to change. You become the catalyst for your own transformation. Let's talk about consistency, because consistency is the engine that powers transformation. You cannot plant a seed, water it once, and expect a tree. You cannot decide to change, take one action, and expect to be a new person tomorrow. Transformation requires steady, repeated effort. It is the accumulation of small intentional choices, choosing kindness when it is difficult, choosing integrity when it is inconvenient, choosing faith when circumstances are uncertain, that compounds into real lasting change. And here's the beauty: the more consistent you are, the more automatic these choices become. They start to shape your behavior, your mindset, and eventually your identity. Consistency transforms actions into habits, habits into character, and character into a life that reflects your intentionality. Another essential aspect of intentional choices is the willingness to prioritize. You cannot choose everything. You cannot give your energy, your focus, and your attention to every distraction or every competing demand. Transformation requires discernment. It requires evaluating what truly matters and choosing to invest in that consistently. It requires saying no to the things that steal your time, drain your energy, or pull you away from your purpose. It requires saying yes to the practices, habits, and decisions that align with your growth. Prioritization is the mechanism that ensures your intentional choices are not scattered or diluted. When you focus your energy on what truly matters, transformation accelerates because every choice is aligned with your ultimate vision for yourself. Patience is another virtue that accompanies intentional choices. Transformation is not instantaneous. It does not happen in a day, a week, or even a month. It happens over time through persistence and faithfulness. There will be days when it feels like nothing is changing, when progress seems invisible, and when doubt tries to creep in. But every small, intentional choice is like a drop of water that eventually fills a vessel. You may not see the immediate effect, but the accumulation is powerful and unstoppable. Patience allows you to trust the process, to honor the daily work, and to remain steadfast even when results are not immediately visible. Resilience is also a key component. Transformation is not a straight path. There will be setbacks, mistakes, and moments when it feels like you are starting over. Resilience is the quality that allows you to rise each time you fall, to recommit to your intentional choices, and to continue forward without losing heart. Transformation does not depend on perfection. It depends on persistence. Resilience ensures that one misstep does not erase progress, one disappointment does not halt momentum, and one failure does not define your journey. Every time you rise after a fall, your choices gain strength and your transformation deepens. Intentional choices are not just about what you do, they are also about what you think, what you speak, and what you allow into your mind and heart. Your thoughts are the seeds of your actions. Your words are the reflection of your inner world. Choosing to think positively, to speak life over yourself and others, to focus on solutions rather than problems is a form of intentional choice that shapes your character and your reality. Transformation begins in the mind and flows outward into every aspect of your life. When your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned with your values and your vision, transformation becomes inevitable because your identity is being molded by conscious, deliberate choices. Another vital aspect is self-accountability. You cannot rely solely on motivation, inspiration, or external circumstances to keep you on track. Transformation requires that you hold yourself accountable to the choices you have made, that you evaluate your progress honestly, and that you adjust when necessary. Accountability is not about self-criticism, it is about integrity. It is about honoring your commitment to yourself and ensuring that your actions reflect your intentions. When you are accountable to yourself, intentional choices become consistent and transformation becomes authentic. Supportive environments and relationships also play a role. The people you surround yourself with, the messages you consume, and the environments you inhabit influence your ability to make intentional choices. Surround yourself with individuals who encourage growth, challenge you to be better, and hold you to a higher standard. Distance yourself from negativity, toxic influence, and distractions that derail your progress. Transformation is accelerated when your environment reinforces your intentionality, because every choice is met with support, inspiration, and reinforcement. Faith is the quiet, sustaining force behind transformation. Sometimes intentional choices may feel insufficient and the path may seem unclear. It is in these moments that faith allows you to trust the process, to believe in the unseen, and to remain committed to the decisions that will shape your future. Faith reminds you that the work you do today, no matter how small, has divine significance. It reassures you that transformation is possible, not because of your strength alone, but because of your alignment with purpose and principle. Intentional choices paired with faith create a powerful synergy that propels growth beyond your imagination. Reflection and self-evaluation are also crucial to the process. Transformation is not static. It requires regular assessment, adjustment, and recalibration. Reflect on the choices you make, the patterns you are forming, and the habits you are cultivating. Ask yourself, are these choices moving me toward the person I want to become? Are they aligned with my values and vision? Are they producing growth or stagnation? Reflection allows you to make intentional adjustments, reinforcing the choices that serve you and eliminating those that do not. It ensures that your transformation remains purposeful, conscious, and authentic. One of the most transformative aspects of consistent, intentional choices is that they create momentum. Each decision builds upon the last. Each step forward, no matter how small, sets the stage for the next. Momentum generates confidence, strengthens resilience, and reinforces identity. You begin to move with purpose, to act with clarity, and to respond to challenges with wisdom. The compounding effect of intentional choices is profound because what starts as a single decision evolves into a lifestyle, and what begins as effort becomes effortless over time. Transformation then is not just an outcome, it is a natural byproduct of living intentionally day after day. As intentional choices become embedded into your life, they begin to define who you are. Your identity is no longer shaped by circumstances, opinions, or fleeting emotions. It is shaped by the consistent actions, decisions, and values that you uphold. Transformation has become your character. Growth is no longer something you pursue, it is who you are. People around you begin to notice the difference, not just in what you do, but in who you are. There is a calm confidence, a quiet strength, and a steady resilience that emanates from a life built on intentionality. Your choices are no longer random. They are deliberate, purposeful, and aligned with the highest vision of yourself. Finally, understand that transformation is a lifelong journey. Intentional choices are not a one-time act, but a continuous practice. Each day presents new opportunities, challenges, and decisions. The more you commit to making intentional choices consistently, the more your life reflects the transformation you desire. It becomes less about achieving a goal and more about embodying a way of living, a mindset and an identity. Consistent, intentional choices shape your character, your destiny, and ultimately your legacy. They ensure that you are not simply drifting through life, reacting to circumstances, or waiting for change to happen. You are actively, consciously, and purposefully creating the person you were meant to become. I want to speak to you about something that is so simple, yet so transformative. Don't seek validation from others. Create it within. There is a subtle trap that we all fall into at one point or another. The idea that our worth is determined by someone else's opinion of us, that our value is tied to applause, recognition, or approval. It is a dangerous trap because when we build our identity on external validation, we give away the power over our own lives. We make ourselves vulnerable to disappointment, insecurity, and inconsistency because people will always have opinions, people will always have judgments, and circumstances will always fluctuate. If your foundation is in the hands of others, your life will feel like a constant swing of highs and lows, a roller coaster of emotion that you cannot control. But when you create validation within, when you anchor your worth inside yourself, you discover a peace and confidence that no one can take away. You learn to stand firm in who you are, regardless of whether anyone else affirms it. And that is the foundation of authentic, lasting growth. Creating validation within begins with self-awareness. You have to know who you are, what you value, and what matters most to you. It means understanding your strengths, recognizing your weaknesses, and being honest about the areas where you need growth. Awareness is like a mirror that reflects not just your exterior, but your soul, your intentions, and the patterns that shape your life. When you know yourself fully, you no longer rely on external voices to tell you your worth. You recognize it in your own reflection, in your own thoughts, and in your own actions. Self-awareness is the first step toward internal validation because it allows you to see yourself clearly, to honor yourself authentically, and to measure your progress against your own standards rather than someone else's. Alongside self-awareness comes self-acceptance. Validation cannot be created internally if you are constantly criticizing yourself, comparing yourself to others, or wishing you were someone else. Self-acceptance is the choice to embrace yourself as you are while still striving to grow and improve. It means acknowledging your imperfections without allowing them to define you and celebrating your progress even when it feels small. When you accept yourself fully, you give yourself permission to exist without needing approval from anyone else. You recognize that your worth is inherent, not earned through external validation, and that creates a sense of freedom that is deeply liberating. Self-acceptance is the soil in which internal validation takes root. Another essential part of creating validation within is self-compassion. Many of us are our own harshest critics. constantly measuring ourselves against unrealistic standards and punishing ourselves for mistakes. But true internal validation comes from speaking to yourself with the same kindness, patience, and encouragement you would offer to someone you love. It is choosing to uplift your own spirit rather than tear it down, to remind yourself of your progress rather than focus solely on your shortcomings. Self-compassion allows you to build resilience because you no longer collapse under the weight of external judgment. You give yourself the affirmation you need, the recognition you seek, and the encouragement that sustains your growth. Intentional action is also a vital piece of this puzzle. Validation is not only about what you feel internally, it is also about what you do. When you consistently act in alignment with your values, your beliefs, and your vision, you create proof within yourself that you are capable, worthy, and powerful. Every choice you make that reflects your true self, every step you take toward your goals, every moment you act with integrity and courage reinforces your internal validation. You begin to see evidence of your worth in your own life rather than relying on others to notice or affirm it. Action bridges the gap between intention and identity. And when your actions consistently reflect who you are, internal validation becomes undeniable. We must also talk about boundaries because creating validation within requires protecting yourself from influences that diminish your sense of self-worth. Not every opinion, comment, or judgment deserves a place in your mind or heart. Some people will try to define you, criticize you, or measure you by standards that are not yours. Setting boundaries is the act of saying, I will honor my own value above the opinions of others. It is not arrogance, it is self-respect. Boundaries allow you to preserve your energy, focus on your growth, and maintain clarity about who you are. When you protect yourself from external noise, your internal voice becomes louder, clearer, and more powerful. Gratitude plays an often overlooked role in cultivating internal validation. When you focus on what you have, what you've achieved, and the progress you are making, you naturally reinforce a sense of worth and accomplishment within yourself. Gratitude shifts your attention from comparison to recognition, from lack to abundance, from seeking approval to celebrating your own journey. Each moment of thankfulness is a small affirmation that says, I am enough, I am growing, I am worthy. Gratitude allows you to see the evidence of your value in your own life, and that builds a foundation of internal validation that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Mindset is another cornerstone. The way you think about yourself, your life, and your potential directly influences your sense of self-worth. A mindset rooted in self-belief, possibility, and faith allows you to see yourself through a lens of validation rather than doubt or insecurity. When you train your mind to affirm your own value, you begin to internalize it as truth. Your thoughts, in turn, shape your words, your actions, and your reality. A positive, intentional mindset transforms internal validation from a concept into a lived experience, creating a deep, unwavering sense of confidence that sustains you in all areas of life. It is also important to recognize that internal validation is not about isolation. Creating validation within does not mean you reject relationships, community, or guidance. It means you are not dependent on others for your sense of worth. You can still receive encouragement, mentorship, and affirmation, but you are not defined by it. You are free to listen, to learn, and to grow without needing someone else to confirm that you are enough. This freedom allows you to engage with the world from a place of strength, not neediness, from a place of contribution, not dependency, from a place of self-assuredness, not insecurity. Faith is a critical element in this journey. Internal validation is strengthened when you understand that your worth is rooted in something unchangeable, something eternal. You are not defined by opinions, circumstances, or fleeting achievements. You are defined by the truth of your creation, your purpose, and your alignment with the divine. When your identity is anchored in this understanding, external validation becomes optional. You begin to operate from a place of assurance that transcends human opinion. Faith allows you to stand firm in who you are, even when the world seems to disagree, and it gives you the courage to cultivate your worth from within. Reflection and self-assessment are also essential practices. Internal validation grows when you regularly examine your progress, recognize your victories, and acknowledge your growth. Reflection allows you to celebrate accomplishments that may go unnoticed by others, and to see evidence of your value in your own life. It is through reflection that you solidify the truth of your worth within yourself, rather than looking outward for affirmation. Regular self-assessment ensures that internal validation is not abstract but tangible, lived, and reinforced by your own awareness and acknowledgement. Another layer of cultivating validation within is embracing authenticity. True internal validation arises when you live in alignment with your values, desires, and truth. When you are authentic, You no longer perform or conform to meet expectations that are not yours. You no longer chase applause or approval. You simply exist as the person you were created to be. And in that authenticity, your sense of worth is undeniable. People may not always understand or celebrate your choices, but you know your truth, and that is enough. Authenticity is the foundation upon which internal validation rests, because it is impossible to validate yourself externally if you are not first aligned with yourself internally. Self-reliance complements this journey. Learning to trust your own judgment, your intuition, and your insight strengthens your internal validation. You do not need every decision to be approved by someone else. You do not need constant reassurance. You can look at yourself, your choices, and your growth and say with confidence, I am enough. I am capable. I am worthy. This self-reliance does not make you arrogant. It makes you empowered. It creates a foundation of independent stability and resilience that external opinions cannot shake. Celebrating your own achievements, no matter how small, reinforces internal validation. When you acknowledge your progress, your effort, and your growth, you are telling yourself that you are worthy of recognition. You do not have to wait for others to notice. Each step forward, each challenge overcome, each habit formed, and each goal achieved becomes proof of your value. By celebrating yourself, you internalize validation, and it begins to define your identity in a powerful, enduring way. Finally, internal validation is a practice, not a one-time act. It requires intentionality, consistency, and self-reflection. It is about building habits of self-awareness, self-compassion, faith, authenticity, and celebration that reinforce your worth day after day. It is about creating a life where you are secure, confident, and anchored in your value. Regardless of external circumstances, internal validation is the key to freedom, peace, and resilience. It allows you to live fully, love deeply, and pursue your purpose with courage, knowing that your worth is never contingent on someone else's opinion, but is rooted firmly within you. I want you to hear me today, and I want you to really feel this truth deep in your spirit. Small daily actions build lasting change. Too often we wait for the big moments, the dramatic breakthroughs, the life-altering decisions, thinking that transformation comes only in grand gestures. But the reality is that your life is shaped not by the extraordinary moments, but by the ordinary ones repeated consistently over time. It is in the quiet choices, the little disciplines, the consistent practices that no one sees that your future is built. Change does not happen overnight. Growth is not instantaneous. But when you commit to doing something small, intentional, and purposeful every single day, it compounds, it gathers strength, it creates momentum. And before you know it, those small actions have shaped you, defined you, and transformed your life in ways that feel miraculous, but are really the result of steadfast dedication. Let me take you deeper into this. Every day you are presented with choices. Some of them feel insignificant. Some of them feel invisible. Perhaps it's deciding to read for 20 minutes. Perhaps it's choosing patience over irritation. Perhaps it's speaking encouragement to yourself instead of criticism. These moments may feel small, but their impact is far greater than you realize. When you take action every day, no matter how tiny, you are signaling to your mind, body, and spirit that you are committed to growth. You are creating habits. Habits form character, and character shapes your destiny. Transformation is the natural result of repetition over time, and small daily actions are the seeds from which greatness grows. Discipline plays a central role in this process. Doing something small once is easy. Doing it every day requires discipline. Discipline is the bridge between intention and results. It is what allows you to turn a fleeting desire into lasting change. Discipline is choosing to do what matters, even when you don't feel like it. It is honoring your own commitment to growth, to progress, and to your vision for the future. Each day that you follow through on a small positive action, you are reinforcing your character and strengthening your resolve. Over time, discipline transforms these actions from tasks into natural expressions of who you are. What begins as a small, intentional choice becomes part of your identity, shaping how you live, how you respond, and how you engage with the world. Patience is another essential part of small daily actions building lasting change. You cannot rush transformation. You cannot demand overnight results. Change takes time, and it is often imperceptible in the moment. You may wake up day after day putting in effort and feel like nothing is happening. But these small actions are working beneath the surface, shaping your mind, your habits, and your resilience. They are preparing you for the breakthrough that will eventually come. Patience allows you to trust the process, to honor your daily efforts, and to believe that your consistency is creating a foundation for the life you are building. Each day that you persist, each action that you repeat, strengthens the trajectory of your transformation. Awareness of the present moment is crucial. Small daily actions are powerful precisely because they are intentional. When you act with mindfulness, when you engage fully in what you do, you infuse each action with meaning, whether it is practicing gratitude, completing a task, investing in a relationship, or taking care of your body. Awareness ensures that your actions are deliberate, not automatic. Deliberate action is transformative because it aligns your behavior with your values and your vision. Each day, when you choose to act with intention, you reinforce your identity as someone committed to growth, to purpose, and to excellence. Consistency is the secret ingredient. You may take a small action once and see limited results. You may take it sporadically and feel frustrated by the lack of progress, but consistency transforms repetition into results. Consistency builds trust with yourself. It builds confidence. It demonstrates to your mind, body, and spirit that you are reliable, committed, and steadfast. When small actions are repeated day after day, week after week, month after month, they compound. They gather momentum. They create a ripple effect that extends far beyond what you can see in the moment. The power of consistency is that it turns effort into habit and habit into identity. Reflection is also vital in this process. As you engage in small daily actions, taking time to evaluate, adjust, and acknowledge your progress allows you to maximize the impact of your efforts. Reflection helps you see where you are improving, where you need to recalibrate, and where your actions are creating meaningful change. It allows you to celebrate small victories that might otherwise go unnoticed and to recognize patterns that contribute to growth. Reflection ensures that your actions are purposeful, informed, and aligned with your long vision. When you reflect, your small daily actions become even more powerful because they are guided by awareness and insight. Self-compassion is essential because change is a journey and journeys have setbacks. There will be days when you falter, when you skip a small action, when you feel like giving up. Self-compassion allows you to continue without self-condemnation. It allows you to recognize that one missed step does not erase the progress you have made. It reminds you to return to your daily actions with patience, grace, and renewed commitment. When you treat yourself with kindness, you sustain your growth over time, ensuring that small actions continue to build lasting change rather than being derailed by temporary frustration. Focus is another key element. Small daily actions are most effective when they are directed toward your priorities, your goals, and your values. It is easy to spread yourself too thin, to get distracted by what is urgent but not important, or to act in ways that do not align with your ultimate vision. Focus ensures that your actions are not just activity, but meaningful progress every day. When you focus on what matters most, each small action contributes directly to building the life, character, and identity you desire. Focus turns repetition into transformation, ensuring that your efforts are strategic, intentional, and aligned with your purpose. Accountability magnifies the effect of small daily actions. Sharing your goals, progress, or practices with someone you trust creates an external reinforcement that keeps you consistent. Accountability partners can provide encouragement, perspective, and gentle correction when needed. It also reminds you that your actions matter not only to yourself, but to the impact you have on others. Accountability, combined with self-awareness and discipline, ensures that your daily actions are consistent, intentional, and sustained over time. Mindset is equally important. Believing that small actions matter, that consistent effort compounds, and that your daily choices create your future is essential for lasting change. A mindset rooted in possibility, faith, and perseverance transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary results. Your thoughts shape your decisions shape your habits, and your habits shape your destiny. When you cultivate a mindset that honors the power of small daily actions, you reinforce your ability to create lasting change and to see transformation not as a distant dream, but as a daily reality. Gratitude enhances the process of lasting change. By acknowledging the progress you make, celebrating small wins, and appreciating the effort you invest daily, you reinforce your motivation and internal validation. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is growing, from frustration to empowerment, from impatience to persistence. Each day when you act with awareness and reflect with gratitude, your small actions gain meaning, impact, and momentum. Supportive environments also nurture change. Surrounding yourself with people, spaces, and messages that encourage growth strengthens the effect of small daily actions. When your environment reinforces your values, priorities, and habits, your efforts are amplified. You are more likely to remain consistent, intentional, and motivated. A supportive environment nurtures transformation, helping your small actions create results that extend far beyond your immediate efforts. Faith anchors your daily actions in purpose. Small actions may feel insignificant in the moment, but faith assures you that each step has value and meaning. When your actions are guided by purpose, by belief, and by vision, they become powerful. Faith transforms routine effort into spiritual growth, perseverance into character, and small acts into the building blocks of your future. Faith allows you to trust that your consistency, discipline, and intentionality are producing results, even when they are not immediately visible. Momentum grows as your small daily actions accumulate. Each day builds on the last. Each step forward reinforces your capacity to continue, your confidence to persist, and your belief in the process. Momentum creates a sense of inevitability. The consistent, intentional actions you take form a current that propels you forward, making each subsequent action easier, more natural, and more impactful. Over time, what began as small, seemingly insignificant choices becomes unstoppable progress, a life transformed through dedication, awareness, and consistency. As these daily actions compound, they begin to shape your identity. Your habits, choices, and discipline start to define who you are. You are no longer someone who occasionally acts with purpose. You become a person whose identity is rooted in intentionality, growth, and consistent effort. Small daily actions build not only skills, habits, and accomplishments, they build character, resilience, and a foundation for lasting transformation. When who you are aligns with what you do every day, change becomes inevitable, natural, and enduring. Internal validation grows as well. When you see the results of your consistent effort, however small, you begin to trust yourself. You develop confidence that you can follow through, persevere, and make choices that matter. You begin to rely less on external approval and more on the evidence of your own commitment. This internal validation strengthens your resolve, fuels your consistency, and reinforces the power of small daily actions. Every day offers new opportunities to practice small actions intentionally, whether it is reading a page, writing a thought, exercising a little, praying for guidance, speaking kind words, or making a choice aligned with your values. Each act contributes to the larger pattern of transformation. Over time, these acts become habits. Habits become routines, and routines shape a life that reflects deliberate, consistent, and lasting change. The power of small daily actions lies not in the individual act itself, but in the cumulative effect, the compound growth, and the transformation that unfolds quietly, persistently, and inevitably. I want to speak to you about something that quietly, subtly, and relentlessly steals your peace and your progress: comparison. It is one of the most dangerous traps we can fall into because it disguises itself as motivation, as inspiration, as a standard to strive toward. But in reality, comparison does nothing but steal your joy, your confidence, and the unique path God has set before you. Every time you look at someone else's life, someone else's success, someone else's blessings, and measure your worth, your progress, or your identity against it, you rob yourself of the opportunity to fully embrace your own journey. Comparison is the thief of contentment. It is the enemy of growth, and it will make you feel less than unworthy and frustrated even when you are on the right path. The truth is that your life, your calling, and your timing are unique to you. Your journey is not theirs, and theirs is not yours. The first step to breaking free from comparison is awareness. You have to recognize when you are comparing. When your thoughts drift to, I should be there too, or why don't I have what they have? Awareness is the first step in reclaiming your mind and redirecting your focus. It requires honesty and courage because you cannot change what you are not willing to see. Notice the moments when envy creeps in, when insecurity whispers, and when your mind measures your worth against someone else's achievements. Awareness gives you the power to pause, reflect, and choose a different path, one that honors your unique journey, rather than trying to replicate someone else's. Next, you must cultivate gratitude for your own life. Comparison often thrives in the absence of appreciation. When we focus only on what we lack, we fail to see the blessings, opportunities, and progress already present in our lives. Gratitude shifts your perspective. It allows you to celebrate your own victories, acknowledge your own growth, and recognize the value of your journey. Each step you have taken, each challenge you have overcome, each lesson you have learned is significant. By grounding yourself in gratitude, you begin to see that your path is enough, that your journey has purpose, and that your timing is perfect. Gratitude transforms your focus from what others have to what you are building, what you are becoming, and what is unfolding in your life according to divine design. Understanding that comparison is a distraction is also essential. When you constantly measure yourself against others, you take your eyes off your own path. You divert energy that could be spent on growth, discipline, and intentional action toward worrying about someone else's achievements. Comparison keeps you reactive instead of proactive. It keeps you chasing validation instead of building it internally. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of envy, doubt, and frustration rather than empowering you to focus on what truly matters. When you realize that comparison is a thief of time and energy, you can consciously choose to redirect your attention toward your own goals, your own growth, and your own purpose. Focus becomes the antidote to comparison. Focusing on your journey means understanding your values, your priorities, and your vision. It means dedicating your energy to the actions, habits, and choices that move you closer to your goals, rather than measuring yourself against someone else's path. Focus requires discipline, awareness, and intentionality. It requires that you resist distractions, ignore external noise, and commit to the work that matters in your life. When you focus on your own journey, you gain clarity, direction, and momentum. You become resilient, empowered, and confident because your worth is no longer tied to someone else's timeline or achievements. Reflection is another critical practice. Take the time to assess your progress, celebrate your victories, and recognize your growth. Compare not yourself to others, but yourself to the person you were yesterday. This shift changes the lens from competition to self-improvement. By measuring your progress internally, you cultivate self-awareness, accountability, and motivation. You honor the work you have done, the steps you have taken, and the lessons you have learned. Reflection allows you to see the evidence of your growth and reinforces the understanding that your journey is unique and meaningful. Self-compassion plays a key role in overcoming comparison. When you inevitably feel inadequate, when you notice gaps between where you are and where someone else seems to be, self-compassion reminds you to be gentle with yourself. It encourages you to acknowledge your efforts, embrace your imperfections, and continue moving forward. Self-compassion ensures that comparison does not spiral into self-criticism, self-doubt, or despair. Instead, it transforms those moments into opportunities for self-reflection, liberation, and recommitment to your journey. Mindset is foundational. A mindset rooted in abundance, faith, and purpose prevents comparison from dictating your emotions and actions. When you believe that your path is unique, that your timing is divinely orchestrated, and that your growth is unfolding according to purpose, comparison loses its power. A healthy mindset allows you to celebrate others without diminishing yourself, to draw inspiration without envy, and to focus on your own work without distraction. Mindset shapes perception, and perception shapes reality. When you cultivate a mindset that honors your journey, comparison cannot steal your peace or derail your progress. Intentional action reinforces your focus. Comparison can paralyze, but action empowers. When you consistently engage in the habits, disciplines, and choices that align with your goals, you create tangible progress that anchors your confidence and self-worth. Each step, however small, builds momentum. Each accomplishment, however minor, affirms that your journey is valid and meaningful. Action transforms intention into reality, and consistent action solidifies your identity and your progress, making external comparisons irrelevant. Surrounding yourself with the right influences also matters. Relationships, mentors, communities, and environments shape your perception and reinforce your journey. Seek out people who encourage your growth, who celebrate your wins, and who challenge you to pursue your best self without judgment or competition. Distance yourself from those who foster envy, comparison, or negativity. When your environment aligns with your goals and values, your focus is protected and your journey is strengthened. Faith is a profound stabilizer in the fight against comparison. Understanding that your life is guided by purpose, timing, and divine design shifts your focus from what others are doing to what you are meant to accomplish. Faith reminds you that each person's journey is unique and that success, blessings, and growth are not a zero-sum game. Your path is yours alone, and when you trust that, comparison loses its power to derail, discourage, or distract you. Faith provides a foundation of security, confidence, and peace that sustains your focus even when temptation to compare arises. Gratitude for the present moment strengthens internal validation and focus. When you acknowledge what you have, what you are learning, and the progress you have made, comparison loses its pull. Gratitude shifts your energy from envy to empowerment, from distraction to action, and from frustration to peace. Each day, when you take stock of your blessings and celebrate your journey, you reinforce your commitment to your own path, and you cultivate resilience against the temptation to measure yourself against others. Visualization is a tool that helps anchor your journey. By imagining the person you are becoming, the goals you are achieving, and the life you are building, you reinforce your focus and direction. Visualization turns intention into a mental blueprint, reminding you that your progress is real, tangible, and meaningful. When you see your future clearly, comparison fades into the background because your energy is directed toward creation, not judgment or distraction. Momentum grows as you consistently focus on your journey. Each intentional choice, each disciplined habit, and each small victory reinforces your trajectory. Momentum creates confidence, resilience, and assurance that your path is valid. The compound effect of daily, Intentional action ensures that your progress is not dependent on external comparison, but is rooted in deliberate, sustained effort. Momentum carries you forward, reinforcing the idea that your journey is unique, valuable, and purposeful. Celebration of personal milestones strengthens your commitment to your path. Acknowledging each step forward is lesson learned, and each challenge overcome creates a sense of internal validation and self-worth. Celebrating yourself, even quietly or privately, reminds you that your journey matters and that your progress is significant. Each act of celebration reinforces the mindset that your growth is not determined by others, but by your own consistent effort and focus. Authenticity anchors your journey in truth. Living in alignment with your values, principles, and purpose creates a life that is inherently resistant to comparison. When you act from your own truth, you are free from the pressures of imitation, competition, or external approval. Authenticity fosters confidence, clarity, and resilience, allowing you to honor your journey and pursue growth without distraction or envy. Internal reflection, self-assessment, and recalibration strengthen your focus over time. Comparison often blinds us to our own progress, but regular reflection illuminates the growth, resilience, and progress that has been achieved. By consistently checking in with yourself, adjusting course when necessary, and acknowledging victories, you reinforce the validity of your journey and resist the pull of comparison. Self-discipline ensures that daily actions, choices, and habits remain aligned with your goals. Comparison may tempt you to shortcut, to imitate, or to pursue someone else's path, but discipline keeps you grounded in your own journey. It ensures that your actions are intentional, consistent, and purposeful. Discipline transforms thought into action, action into habit, and habit into transformation, creating a life that reflects your commitment, values, and unique purpose. As your focus sharpens, your journey becomes your own. The noise of social media, opinions, and external expectations fades. You operate from a place of clarity, intentionality, and confidence. You see the value in your steps, trust in your timing, and honor your path. Comparison loses its power because your energy is devoted to growth, not judgment, to progress, not envy, to creation, not imitation. Every step, every choice, and every disciplined action reinforces the truth that your journey is unique, valid, and sufficient. Comparison may arise, but you now have the tools, awareness, gratitude, focus, reflection, discipline, faith, authenticity, and celebration to redirect your attention and energy to your own path. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, and the more peaceful, confident, and empowered you feel, knowing that your progress, growth, and identity are determined by your consistent effort, alignment with purpose, and intentional focus. I want you to hear this truth and let it sink deep into your spirit. Your environment shapes your habits, your mindset, and ultimately the trajectory of your life. And therefore, it must be curated wisely. Too often, we underestimate the subtle ways in which our surroundings influence our choices, our thoughts, and our behaviors. The people we spend the most time with, the media we consume, the spaces we inhabit, even the sounds we allow in our ears, all of these factors have a profound impact on the person we become. If you are surrounded by chaos, negativity, or distraction, it is no surprise that your habits mirror that environment. Conversely, if you intentionally cultivate a space that fosters growth, clarity, and purpose, your habits will naturally align with the life you are seeking to create. Your environment is the invisible architecture that shapes your daily decisions and therefore your destiny. Consider the people you spend your time with. The company you keep has a subtle but powerful influence on your habits, your mindset, and your energy. When you are around individuals who inspire you, challenge you, and hold you accountable, you are more likely to adopt behaviors that reflect those values. On the other hand, when you are immersed in negativity, distraction, or cynicism, your habits will reflect those influences, even if you don't realize it. Our environments are mirrors of our priorities, and they reinforce our identity through repeated exposure and subtle conditioning. Choosing your company wisely is one of the most critical decisions you can make to foster habits that lead to growth and transformation. Your physical environment also matters. The spaces you inhabit, your home, your workspace, your neighborhood, shape your routines and influence your daily choices. Cluttered spaces breed mental clutter, distractions, and inefficiency, while clean, organized, and intentional spaces promote focus, creativity, and discipline. When you curate your environment to support your goals, you make it easier to take consistent action. Simple changes like organizing your workspace, removing distractions, and creating areas dedicated to productivity, reflection, or wellness can dramatically influence the habits that take root in your life. Physical environment is not just about aesthetics. It is about functionality, intentionality, and the reinforcement of positive patterns. Technology, media, and digital influence are also part of your environment. The apps you use, the content you consume, the social media you scroll through, all have the ability to shape your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Exposure to constant negativity, comparison, or misinformation can subtly erode your focus and your motivation. Conversely, intentional consumption of inspiring content, educational resources, and supportive communities can reinforce your growth, provide accountability, and expand your vision. Curating your digital environment is essential because the things you allow into your mind daily shape your beliefs, habits, and ultimately your actions. Sound and sensory environment play a role as well. The music you listen to, the sounds in your home or workspace, the atmosphere of the spaces you frequent, all of these subtly affect your mood, energy, and productivity. Intentional use of sound, from uplifting music to quiet reflection spaces, can enhance focus, motivation, emotional regulation. Similarly, visual stimuli, artwork, lighting, colors, and organization affect your mindset and can influence habits positively or negatively. When you curate your sensory environment with purpose, you create conditions that support the habits and behaviors you want to cultivate in your life. Routine and structure are integral to environmental curation. Habits are reinforced by patterns, and patterns are shaped by the environment you create. Setting intentional routines around your work, rest, reflection, and growth allows you to consistently engage in behaviors that align with your goals. Environment and routine work hand in hand. Your environment cues your habits, and your habits reinforce your environment. This creates a positive feedback loop that supports growth, consistency, and alignment with your vision. Without intentional structure, even the most disciplined person can be derailed by the subtle influences of their surroundings. Emotional environment also matters. The people you interact with, the messages you internalize, and the emotional atmosphere you inhabit all influence your state of mind, self-perception, and choices. Environments that are filled with criticism, doubt, fear, or cynicism can erode confidence, motivation, and resilience over time. Conversely, emotionally supportive environments that encourage growth, reinforce self-worth, and celebrate progress cultivate habits of confidence, perseverance, and courage. Your emotional environment shapes not only how you feel, but also how consistently you act in alignment with your values and goals. Faith and spiritual environment are equally significant. Being surrounded by people, spaces, and practices that encourage spiritual growth, reflection, and alignment with purpose strengthens the habits that foster resilience, clarity, and intentionality. This could mean attending gatherings that uplift your spirit, reading texts that deepen your understanding, or cultivating a personal space for prayer, meditation, or reflection. A spiritually supportive environment reinforces habits that align your daily actions with your highest values, creating consistency in character and purpose. Boundaries are a critical component of environmental curation. You cannot control every external factor, but you can control what you allow into your life. Setting boundaries around time, energy, relationships, and influences ensures that your environment supports rather than sabotages your growth. Boundaries protect your habits, focus, and peace of mind. They allow you to cultivate spaces and interaction that reinforce intentional action, positive thinking, and aligned behaviors. Without boundaries, even the best intentions can be derailed by subtle, repeated environmental pressures. Accountability structures amplify the effect of a well-curated environment. Being surrounded by people who challenge, encourage, and hold you responsible for your commitments ensures that your environment actively supports your growth. Mentors, partners, and communities can help you maintain focus, reinforce positive habits, and remind you of your goals when distractions arise. Accountability turns passive support into active reinforcement, increasing the likelihood that the habits you want to cultivate will take root and flourish over time. Consistency in action interacts with your environment to produce lasting change. Habits are reinforced not just by intention, but by the cues and context provided by your surroundings. When your environment consistently supports the behaviors you want to cultivate, small daily actions become second nature, building momentum toward your goals. Conversely, an unsupportive environment constantly pulls you off course, forcing you to expend energy to resist its influence. Curating an environment that naturally encourages positive action makes consistency sustainable, effortless, and powerful. Mindset is shaped by environment as well. The beliefs, assumptions, and attitudes that dominate your thoughts are influenced by your surroundings. Positive, growth-oriented environments reinforce belief in possibility, resilience, and self-efficacy. Toxic, negative, or stagnant environments reinforce doubt, fear, and limitation. By carefully selecting your environment, you are shaping not only your actions, but your thoughts, your self-perception, and ultimately your potential. Your habits are a reflection of your environment, and your environment is a reflection of your mindset. Reflection and adjustment are ongoing practices in environmental curation. Habits evolve. Goals shift and circumstances change, so it is important to regularly assess whether your environment continues to support your growth. This could mean reassessing relationships, evaluating your physical spaces, or reconsidering your media and informational inputs. Intentional adjustment ensures that your environment remains aligned with your evolving goals and values. A dynamic approach to environmental curation allows your habits and growth to flourish in alignment with your current vision and purpose. Gratitude for supportive elements in your environment enhances the impact of positive surrounding. When you acknowledge and appreciate the spaces, people, and structures that reinforce your growth, you reinforce your own commitment to utilizing them effectively. Gratitude strengthens the influence of a positive environment and encourages a mindset of abundance and possibility, further supporting habits and consistent action. Momentum is created when a curated environment, consistent action, and intentional habits converge. Each small action is reinforced by the context in which it occurs, and each reinforced action strengthens the environment that supports it. Over time, this compounding effect produces profound growth, transformation, and alignment. Your environment becomes a silent partner in your journey, guiding, supporting, and amplifying your efforts in ways that feel natural, effortless, and sustainable. Every choice you make about your environment, physical, emotional, spiritual, relational, or digital, has consequences for the habits you cultivate and the life you build. Intentional curation of these elements creates conditions where your daily actions align with your vision, values, and purpose. Your environment shapes your behaviors, your mindset, and your identity. When you intentionally select and nurture the influences that surround you, you give yourself the power to cultivate habits that produce lasting, meaningful change. Ultimately, the environment you curate is a reflection of the life you are committed to creating. When you surround yourself with people who uplift, spaces that inspire, messages that encourage, and boundaries that protect, you create conditions for growth that are aligned with your highest potential. Your habits, consistency, and mindset flourish in such an environment, reinforcing a cycle of intentional living that produces transformation over time. I want you to hear this and really let it resonate in your spirit. Celebrate progress, not perfection. Too often, we get caught up in the idea that we have to reach some flawless ideal before we allow ourselves to feel proud, before we acknowledge our growth, or before we recognize the work we've done. We tell ourselves that we are not enough, not yet, not fully, because we are measuring ourselves against a standard that is impossible to reach. But the truth is that life is a journey, not a finish line, and it is in the small steps, the incremental victories, the little wins, that transformation actually takes place. Celebrating progress shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have achieved. It gives us the courage to keep moving forward, the motivation to persevere, and the grace to honor the work that is already in motion. Perfection is an illusion, but progress is tangible, real, and worthy of recognition. Think about it every day. Every choice, every step forward matters. Perhaps it's choosing patience over frustration. Perhaps it's taking time to nurture your mind or body. Perhaps it's extending kindness when it would have been easier to withhold it. Each of these actions may feel small, even insignificant, but when viewed through the lens of cumulative growth, they are monumental. Progress is built quietly, consistently, and intentionally. When we celebrate these moments, we are not inflating our ego or indulging in pride. We are acknowledging the evidence of our effort, the fruit of our resilience, and the momentum that is carrying us forward. Celebration of progress fuels motivation, reinforces positive habits, and cultivates an enduring sense of self-worth. Perfection often paralyzes us. The expectation that everything must be flawless can keep us from starting, from trying, from moving forward at all. It can make us overlook the value of small improvements, the significance of learning curves, and the impact of incremental growth. When we focus on perfection, we miss the beauty and power of the journey itself. Celebrating progress allows us to see that transformation is a process, that mistakes are opportunities to learn, and that growth is cumulative. It teaches us to honor ourselves and our work, even when the results are not yet perfect, and it creates a mindset that values persistence over immediate results. Gratitude and reflection amplify the power of celebrating progress. Taking time to look back to see how far you've come, to acknowledge the challenges you've overcome, allows you to internalize your growth. Reflection highlights the small victories that may have gone unnoticed and reinforces the understanding that your journey is meaningful. Gratitude turns progress into a source of motivation and resilience, reminding you that your effort is not in vain, your steps are not wasted, And your life is unfolding according to a process that is uniquely yours. Each moment of reflection and gratitude strengthens the habit of celebrating progress. Self-compassion is essential in this practice. Progress is rarely linear, and setbacks, mistakes, or delays are inevitable. Self-compassion allows you to recognize that imperfection is part of being human, that growth is rarely smooth, and that the effort itself is valuable. When you treat yourself with kindness, patience, and understanding, you reinforce the value of your progress rather than undermining it with self-criticism. Self-compassion ensures that your focus remains on forward movement, learning, and improvement rather than on frustration, shame, or comparison to others. Habits and consistency are deeply intertwined with progress. Each day you take steps aligned with your goals, values, and vision. You are creating tangible evidence of movement. Habits may begin small, almost invisible, but over time they accumulate, compound, and form the foundation of transformation. Recognizing and celebrating these habits, even when they feel ordinary, reinforces the behaviors that will ultimately shape your identity and your life. Progress is the sum of these small, intentional actions repeated consistently over time, and each repetition deserves acknowledgement, celebration, and honor. Mindset shapes how we perceive progress. A mindset rooted in growth, abundance, and possibility sees effort, improvement, and learning as valuable. Even when perfection is not achieved, it understands that mastery is a journey, that challenges and mistakes are opportunities for development, and that consistent action outweighs flawless execution. By cultivating a mindset that prioritizes progress, you free yourself from the trap of comparison, self-doubt, and unrealistic expectation. You become empowered to appreciate the journey, honor each step, and continue forward with confidence. Focus and intentionality enhance progress. When your actions are guided by clear goals, values, and priorities, even small achievements carry tremendous significance. Progress is not random. It is intentional, deliberate, and purposeful. Each step that moves you closer to your vision is worthy of recognition. By maintaining focus, you ensure that your efforts align with your true objectives, and by celebrating each milestone along the way, you reinforce the momentum that sustains your journey. Focus transforms effort into measurable progress and progress into meaningful growth. Community and support magnify the impact of celebrating progress, sharing victories, however small, with those who encourage, uplift, and believe in you amplifies motivation, accountability, and reinforcement. Celebrating within a community creates a positive feedback loop, inspiring others while reaffirming your own journey. Supportive relationships reinforce the value of incremental steps and help sustain commitment, particularly during challenging periods when progress may feel slow or uncertain. Community allows recognition to extend beyond yourself, creating a network of encouragement that fortifies habits, confidence, and persistence. Faith and purpose provide a foundation for meaningful celebration of progress. When your actions are aligned with a higher vision, with divine guidance, or with deeply held values, progress becomes more than a series of steps. It becomes evidence of alignment with your purpose. Faith provides perspective, allowing you to see that each small win, each effort, each lesson learned contributes to a larger, meaningful trajectory. Purpose gives context, and celebration acknowledges the alignment between effort and intention. Progress is therefore not just about personal achievement, but about fulfilling a calling, honoring growth, and recognizing alignment with your deepest values. Reflection on challenges and setbacks enhances the appreciation of progress. Each difficulty overcome, each obstacle navigated, and each failure endured adds weight and significance to your achievements. Celebrating progress in this context is not about ignoring struggles, but about honoring resilience, perseverance, and learning the distance traveled through hardship is evidence of growth, strength, and endurance. And acknowledging it reinforces the mindset that effort, persistence, and courage matter more than flawless outcomes. Progress includes both victories and lessons, and celebration encompasses both. Visualization and acknowledgement amplify the power of recognizing progress. When you consciously visualize your journey, noting the growth, improvements, and lessons learned, you strengthen your sense of achievement and reinforce the behaviors that create lasting impact. Recognition, whether internal or shared, reinforces momentum and motivates further effort. By visualizing and honoring progress, you transform abstract effort into tangible evidence, making the path forward clear, purposeful, and empowering. Momentum is created by acknowledging and celebrating progress consistently. Every small step recognized, every improvement noted, and every lesson learned compounds over time. This creates a cumulative effect where growth, confidence, and motivation reinforce one another. Momentum ensures that the journey continues with increasing ease and consistency, reinforcing habits and behaviors that sustain long-term transformation. Celebrating progress, therefore, is not indulgence. It is the mechanism by which sustained effort becomes enduring change. Authenticity strengthens the celebration of progress. When you honor your achievements based on your own journey rather than external expectation, approval, or comparison, you anchor recognition in reality. Authentic celebration reflects your effort, resilience, and growth, independent of others' standards or opinions. By embracing authenticity, you cultivate internal validation, confidence, and self-awareness, reinforcing the value of your progress on your own terms. Daily reflection, journaling, or mental acknowledgement ensures that progress is recognized in real time. By taking moments throughout your day to notice improvement, effort, or learning, you reinforce habits of self-awareness. Gratitude and motivation. Recognition becomes a natural part of your routine, cultivating a mindset that values growth, persistence, and intentional effort over unattainable perfection. Intentional reinforcement of progress shapes identity as you consistently recognize and celebrate the steps you take. Small achievements transform into defining characteristics. You begin to see yourself as resilient, disciplined, committed, and capable. Identity and progress reinforce one another. Celebrating wins strengthens the behaviors that created them, which in turn reinforces a sense of self that is grounded in effort, learning, and growth. Encouragement of others magnifies the value of progress. By celebrating the achievements of those around you, you create a culture that honors effort and growth rather than perfection. This creates mutual reinforcement, collective motivation, and shared understanding that progress is the pathway to transformation. Encouragement becomes a tool to strengthen both your journey and the journeys of those you influence, reinforcing the principle that celebrating progress fosters momentum, community, and empowerment. Each step, each effort, each moment of growth deserves acknowledgement. Life is made up of thousands of small, intentional actions, and progress is the sum of those actions over time. By celebrating progress, you give yourself permission to honor the work you have done, to find motivation in the journey, and to cultivate resilience for the steps ahead. Progress, focused celebration transforms the way you approach life, creating joy, empowerment, and the sustained commitment necessary for meaningful, lasting growth. As we come to the close of this time together, I want you to take a deep breath and just let the truth settle in your spirit. The journey you are on is uniquely yours, and every step you have taken, every lesson you have learned, every moment of growth matters more than you realize. Don't underestimate the power of consistent effort, intentional choices, and small daily actions. They are quietly shaping your character, your identity, and your destiny in ways that will unfold beautifully over time. I want you to remember that you are not defined by yesterday's failures, nor are you limited by what others are doing around you. Your path is unique, your timing is perfect, and your purpose is unfolding according to a plan that is bigger than what your eyes can see. Comparison only steals your peace, and perfection only paralyzes your progress. Celebrate the steps you've taken, even the small ones, and recognize that every action counts toward the life you are building. There is power in patience. Transformation takes time. Growth is rarely linear, and sometimes the work we are doing is invisible in the moment. But I want you to trust that your effort is never wasted, your consistency is never unnoticed, and your dedication to becoming the best version of yourself is producing results that will last for a lifetime. Keep showing up, keep taking the next step, keep believing in your journey. Surround yourself with influences that uplift, support, and challenge you to grow. Your environment is more than a space. It is the silent architect of your habits, your mindset, and your progress. Choose people, spaces, and messages that reinforce the person you are becoming. Protect your peace, cultivate intentionality, and curate a life that allows your best self to flourish. Do not shy away from reflection. Take the time to pause, to acknowledge your victories, to learn from your setbacks, and to recalibrate when necessary. Reflection is not just looking back. It is an intentional act of honoring your journey, learning from the process, and reinforcing the habits that are moving you forward. It is how progress becomes visible, celebrated, and sustained. Faith is your anchor. No matter how challenging the journey may feel, remember that your life is guided by purpose, divine timing, and a plan greater than you can comprehend. Trust that every small effort, every choice made with intention, and every step forward is part of a process that aligns with your ultimate calling. Faith reminds you to stay committed, to persevere, and to keep your eyes on what matters most. Celebrate who you are becoming, not just what you achieve. Identity is formed in the small, consistent actions you take each day. Let go of the pressure to be perfect, and instead honor the progress you've made, the growth you are experiencing, and the person you are continuously becoming. Celebrate yourself, your journey, and the resilience that is shaping your life. Community matters. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your value, who celebrate your wins, who encourage your growth, and who hold you accountable when needed. Together, we rise higher, move faster, and remain stronger. Don't underestimate the power of shared encouragement, mutual support, and collective celebration of progress. Take this moment to commit again to yourself. Commit to the work, the growth, the discipline, and the intentional living that your journey requires. Commit to your own path, to your unique timing, and to daily actions that will shape your future. You are capable, resilient, and equipped for every step ahead. Your best life is waiting for you, and it begins with the choices you make today. Before we go, I want to leave you with this charge. Continue to work on yourself until it becomes your identity. Embrace progress over perfection. Focus on your journey. Curate your environment wisely, and never underestimate the power of small, intentional daily actions. Like this video, subscribe to the channel for daily motivation. Write a famous quote in the comments and share one thing you are believing God for today. Your journey matters and your life is in motion. Keep going and keep becoming.